You sit down at the table, the plates are cleared, and the room feels heavy. You mention something good that happened to you. Maybe a promotion at a job they don't quite understand, a move to a new city, or simply a weekend where you turned off your phone to finally breathe. The reaction is not a smile. It is a long, deliberate pause, a slight shift in posture, a quiet, suffocating sigh. Then, a perfectly calibrated sentence. Well, it must be nice to have time for things like that. In that exact moment, the air leaves the room. You swallow the defense you were about to mount, and a familiar, heavy pressure settles right in the center of your chest. That pressure is not love. That pressure is architecture. The hardest truth you will ever have to face does not involve strangers, competitors, or enemies in the boardroom. It involves the people whose blood runs in your veins. You have been told your entire life that family is a sanctuary, an unconditional harbor. But if you look closely at the cold mechanics of how your family actually operates, you will realize something entirely different. A family is not just a collection of relatives. It is an ecosystem. It is a highly engineered psychological cartel that relies on strict, unspoken contracts to maintain its equilibrium. For decades, a delicate balance has been held in place by the specific roles everyone unconsciously agreed to play. When you begin to outgrow the environment you were raised in, you are not just acquiring new tastes or moving to a better zip code. You are breaking a contract you never explicitly signed. You are threatening the structural integrity of their world. In this system, your growth is treated not as an achievement, but as an act of treason. We are taught to view their resistance as a simple misunderstanding. We tell ourselves they are just stuck in their ways, or that they will eventually come around if we just explain ourselves one more time, using softer words. This is a fatal miscalculation. They do not misunderstand you. They understand exactly what you are doing, and the family immune system is actively fighting back. Because in the economy of the family, your guilt is the currency that buys their comfort. Your willingness to shrink, to apologize for your ambition, to downplay your joy. That is the tax you are expected to pay to keep the peace. They do not consciously want to destroy you. They want to regulate you. They want to ensure that no matter how far you go, the invisible tether remains perfectly intact. Every passive-aggressive comment, every sudden manufactured crisis that requires your immediate attention just as you are about to step out the door, every guilt trip masked as genuine parental concern. These are not accidents. They are precision instruments designed to drag you back to the baseline. You feel this friction every time you try to establish a boundary, wondering why the simple act of choosing your own life feels like a crime. You convince yourself that if you just love them enough or compromise just a little more, the tension will dissolve. You think they are just being difficult, reacting poorly to change because they care so deeply about you. But the truth is far more calculated. The truth is far more calculated. The family system does not stumble into its dysfunction by accident. It assigns it by design. Imagine a person in their late 20s, or perhaps well into their 30s or 40s. You have your own home, your own career, and you pay your own bills. To the outside world, you are a fully autonomous adult capable of navigating complex realities. But the moment your phone screen lights up with a specific name, your nervous system aggressively rewires itself back to childhood. You find yourself pacing your living room, mentally rehearsing how to tell your mother you will not be visiting for the holidays. You calculate exactly how much detail to hide from your father about your new relationship, just to ensure he cannot find a loose thread to pull and unravel your happiness. You are living a double life. In public, you are an individual. But in the presence of your bloodline, you are still playing a character. You did not choose this character. You were cast in it before you possessed the vocabulary to object. Every family, beneath the polite photographs and holiday traditions, is a closed system of unexamined anxieties, unfulfilled ambitions, and generational grief. And a system under immense psychological pressure will always seek a release valve. The family unconsciously looks at its children, assesses its own structural weaknesses, and hands out the scripts. Someone has to be the anchor, the hyper-responsible overachiever who manages everyone else's emotions, the one who never asks for help, so the parents never have to feel inadequate. Someone has to be the scapegoat, the designated lightning rod who absorbs all the blame, providing a convenient distraction from the cracks in the parents' own marriage. And someone is often cast as the ghost, the invisible child whose sole job is to need absolutely nothing, keeping the environment artificially quiet. You grew up believing that your hypervigilance, your deep empathy, or your chronic self-doubt were simply your innate personality traits. They are not. They are survival adaptations. They are the mask welded to your face by an ecosystem that needed you to perform a specific function. Psychologists use the term enmeshment to describe this, a state where the boundaries between individuals are entirely dissolved. But that word sounds far too passive, too innocent. In reality, enmeshment is a highly sophisticated form of resource extraction. The family mines your emotional autonomy to stabilize its own architecture. If a mother's marriage is empty, she does not fix it. She unconsciously turns her child into an emotional surrogate, a permanent witness to her suffering, who is never allowed to exit the audience. When you finally see this, the realization is chilling. You look back at decades of your life and recognize that your crippling indecisions were never personal flaws. They were features of the programming. You were trained to filter every major life choice through a subconscious algorithm that calculates how your actions will impact the emotional temperature of your parents. You mistook this constant surveillance, this suffocating closeness, for unconditional love. But love allows for separation. Love celebrates independence. Control demands permanent fusion. Your identity, the very thing you have been defending and agonizing over for years, was never truly yours. It was a load-bearing pillar installed to keep a cracking house standing. Seeing the mask for what it is brings a sudden, cold clarity. But understanding the role you were forced to play is only the first step. The real danger lies in how the system punishes you the moment you attempt to take it off. Understanding the mask is only the first step. The true danger lies in the exact mechanism the family deploys the moment you attempt to take it off. That mechanism is guilt. But this is not the healthy guilt you experience when you have legitimately harmed someone or violated your own ethics. This is manufactured guilt, deployed with the precision of a military operation. Imagine you finally draw a line in the sand. You tell your mother you will not be hosting the holidays this year, or you inform your father you are taking a career path he considers beneath you. The response is rarely explosive, theatrical rage. Explosions are loud, obvious, and frankly, too easy to justify walking away from. An angry parent gives you a clear reason to leave. A wounded parent, however, creates an invisible tether that forces you to stay. So the punishment becomes covert. It is the sudden, mysterious migraine that requires your immediate attention. It is the heavy, loaded sigh before the phone clicks dead. It is the extended, punishing silence that freezes you out of the family orbit for weeks, leaving you desperate to earn your way back in. You sit there, staring at your phone, feeling a toxic, overwhelming cocktail of anxiety and remorse. You convince yourself that you have been ungrateful, that your desire for independence is actually just selfishness in disguise. This is exactly what the family architecture is designed to make you feel. In this system, guilt is not a moral compass pointing toward true north. It is an invisible electric fence. The yard looks open, the gate appears unlocked, and you logically believe you are a free adult who can leave at any time. But the moment you approach the perimeter of what the family deems acceptable, you receive a shock. Over the decades, the pain of that shock has been so thoroughly conditioned into your nervous system that the family no longer even needs to police the boundary. You police it yourself. You stay quietly in the center of the yard, confusing your fear of the electric shock with a genuine desire to remain in the cage. But here is where we must strip away the comforting, romanticized illusion of your own victimhood. This is the turn you will not want to hear. It is easy to look at this dynamic and blame your family for manipulating you. It is much harder to accept your own active role in keeping the machinery running. The cold truth is, they use guilt because it works, and it works because you constantly broadcast your susceptibility to it. You are not merely a passive target in this dynamic. You are the architect of your own extraction. Every time they deploy the silent treatment, and you double text them in a panic to apologize, you are rewarding their tactic. Every time they feign a crisis, and you abandon your own plans to rush to their side, you are paying the emotional ransom. In the economy of the family, your guilt is the currency that buys their comfort. And you have been handing them a blank check for your entire adult life. You have systematically trained them to control you. You have taught them exactly which buttons to press to elicit your immediate compliance. A manipulator, whether they are consciously calculating or just unconsciously repeating inherited trauma, will always take the path of least resistance. As long as your apologies are predictable and your boundaries inevitably collapse at the first sign of their discomfort, they have absolutely no incentive to alter their behavior. To them, your guilt is a highly reliable button on a vending machine. They press it, and out comes your obedience. If you want to stop being managed, you have to break the machine. You must learn to endure the brutal discomfort of letting them be upset without rushing in to fix it. Taking back your autonomy means accepting that their emotional regulation is no longer your responsibility. It means watching them deploy their finest, most polished guilt trips and simply refusing to catch the bait. But do not expect them to surrender quietly. Once you realize guilt is merely a behavioral lever, and you refuse to let it be pulled, you will be forced to face the guardians who built the machine. Once you stop rewarding the guilt, once you refuse to let the behavioral lever be pulled, the system enters a state of panic, forcing you to finally face the threshold guardians who built the machine. When your polite apologies dry up and your boundaries remain rigid, The family's strategy of covert guilt inevitably escalates into overt resistance. This reaction is not a conscious conspiracy orchestrated in a dark room. It is social immunology. The family is an organism, and you are a cell that has suddenly mutated, operating on a different set of instructions. To preserve its homeostasis, the organism mobilizes its defenses to neutralize the threat. This neutralization almost always begins under the impenetrable disguise of deep, familial concern. You will find yourself cornered during a holiday visit, or trapped on a phone call that starts with a heavy, ominous tone. "We are worried about you," they will say. "You have changed so much. You are just not yourself lately." And then the surgical strike. "Honestly, you think you are better than us now." You must learn to translate these sentences with cold, absolute detachment. When they say you are not yourself, what they actually mean is that you are no longer the version of yourself that is useful to them. When they accuse you of thinking you are better than them, they are projecting their own sudden, terrifying feelings of inadequacy. Your individuation is an active, walking insult to their stagnation. By proving that change is possible, by successfully stepping out of the psychological basement, you are forcing them to confront a devastating question. If you could build a new life, why did they settle for theirs? Because that realization is far too painful to metabolize. They must invalidate your growth. They become the threshold guardians, standing at the gate of your new reality, armed not with weapons, but with shame. They will begin to rewrite family history, systematically framing your newfound independence as mental or emotional instability. Suddenly, to the extended family, you are going through a phase. You are being manipulated by a new partner, brainwashed by an article, or misled by an arrogant sense of superiority. They will strip you of your agency to protect their own narrative. If you are simply corrupted or unwell, then your departure means nothing, and they do not have to examine their own unlived lives. You will watch siblings be weaponized, sent to relay carefully crafted messages about how much your boundaries are devastating your parents. You will face a coordinated, quiet campaign of character assassination, designed entirely to make the outside world feel so cold and hostile that you voluntarily retreat to the familiar warmth of your assigned cage. You must watch this play out with the clinical eye of an anthropologist. Do not argue. Do not attempt to prove your sanity or defend your character to a jury that has already agreed upon your conviction. In the economy of the family, your guilt is the currency that buys their comfort, and when you cut off the funds, they will naturally attempt to bankrupt your reputation. Watching the people who raised you actively attempt to dismantle your reality is a brutal psychological endurance test. The question then becomes, how do you survive this final extraction without destroying yourself in the process? Surviving this extraction without destroying yourself requires a completely counterintuitive approach to family conflict. You cannot fight the system using the tools the system gave you. Your instinct, honed over decades of conditioning, will be to defend yourself. When the threshold guardians begin their campaign, when your mother makes the passive-aggressive remark over dinner, or your father weaponizes his silence, your first impulse is to explain, to argue, to loudly justify your choices so they will finally understand. But you must realize that over-explaining is not an act of communication. It is a plea for permission. And anger, no matter how justified it feels in your chest, is a signal of submission. When you scream at them, when you lose your temper and tell them how manipulative they are, you are proving that they still possess the power to regulate your nervous system. You are still playing your assigned role, just at a higher volume. True autonomy does not look like a screaming match. It looks like emotional flatness. Imagine sitting at the family dinner table. You are perfectly calm. Your breathing is slow. Your posture is relaxed. Someone across the table launches a carefully veiled insult disguised as a joke, or a passive-aggressive comment regarding your new life, designed specifically to trigger your old anxieties. They expect the usual routine. You get defensive, the tension spikes, and the family system reasserts its dominance. But this time, you do something entirely different. You look at them. You acknowledge you heard the words, and you do absolutely nothing. You let the comment float in the air, heavy and awkward, until it simply drops to the floor. You do not catch it. You do not absorb it. You let the silence stretch out, forcing them to sit in the discomfort of their own failed manipulation. This is the tactical execution of differentiation. Differentiation is the ability to remain physically present while becoming psychologically unreachable. It is the realization that you can occupy the same room as your family without occupying the same emotional reality. You no longer need to cut them off in a theatrical display of rebellion, nor do you need to submit to their control. You simply exist as a sovereign entity. When they attempt to pull the behavioral lever of guilt, the machine simply does not respond. The lever is broken. The connection has been severed. They can exert all the pressure they want, but the mechanics of your mind are no longer tied to the mechanics of theirs. This posture requires immense discipline. You must train yourself to stop viewing their disappointment as a personal failure. Let them be disappointed. Let them misunderstand you. Let them tell the extended family whatever narrative they need to invent to soothe their own bruised egos. Your reputation within a broken system is completely irrelevant to your success in the real world. You are trading the comforting illusion of their approval for the absolute reality of your own freedom. You are no longer asking them to validate your existence. You are merely informing them of it. But holding this line, maintaining this level of cold, untouchable empowerment in the face of the people who gave you life, is not a matter of simply memorizing tactics. Strategies will fail you if your underlying perspective remains flawed. This level of emotional control requires a final, unshakable shift in how you view the people who raised you. This level of emotional control requires a final, unshakable shift in how you view the people who raised you. If you look at an old childhood photograph of yourself, you will likely see a kid who was eager to please, hyper-vigilant, constantly reading the room to ensure the emotional climate was stable. That child was entirely dependent on the family architecture for survival. To become truly untouchable, you have to look at that photograph and accept with absolute finality that the obedient version of you is gone forever. And more importantly, you must accept that the people who raised you will mourn the death of that obedient child much more than they will ever celebrate the birth of the sovereign adult you have become. For your entire life, you have likely viewed your parents through two extreme lenses, either as omnipotent authorities who held the ultimate keys to your self-worth, or as intentional villains deliberately plotting to sabotage your independence. Both perspectives are a trap. Both perspectives keep you emotionally tethered to them, forcing you to constantly react to their presence. True differentiation happens when you finally see them as neither gods nor monsters, but as startlingly ordinary people. They are simply flawed, frightened individuals who inherited a psychological cartel from their own parents, never possessed the tools to question its mechanics, and expected you to fall in line just as they did. They did not build the cage specifically for you. They just never learned how to survive outside of one themselves. When you finally see them this way, the burning need to argue with them dissipates, replaced by a cold, quiet resolve. But be warned, the absence of anger leaves a vacuum, and that vacuum will be filled by grief. This is the pain that the mainstream self-help world refuses to talk about. You will grieve the realization that the unconditional love you were promised was actually highly conditional, deeply dependent on your continued performance as a supporting character. You will mourn the loss of the comforting illusion that your family would always be a frictionless sanctuary. But this grief is not a signal that you have made a mistake. It is the exact opposite. It is the admission price to your own life. It is the heavy, non-negotiable toll you must pay to cross the border from submission into sovereignty. You are actively trading the warm, suffocating illusion of belonging for the sharp, absolute reality of freedom. And once you make that trade, something remarkable happens. You can finally interact with your family on your own terms. You can sit across from them at the holiday table, listen to the subtle jabs, watch them attempt to deploy the old, rusty mechanisms of shame, and feel absolutely nothing but mild observation. You no longer fear them as your wardens, which means you can finally afford to just observe them as the limited humans they actually are. You realize with total clarity that in the economy of the family, your guilt was the currency that bought their comfort, and your accounts are now permanently closed. The system only works if you agree to keep playing the game. Tomorrow, when the inevitable loaded text message arrives, or the passive-aggressive sigh fills the room, you will feel the familiar, invisible pull of the family cartel trying to drag you back into your assigned role. You will feel the old instinct to explain, to apologize, to shrink so they can feel large. Let the instinct rise, and then let it die on the vine. Do not fight it. Do not argue with it. Simply look at the machinery trying to operate, realize the levers are no longer attached to your mind, and walk away with your eyes wide open. Walking away with your eyes wide open is the final, irreversible step of the process. But maintaining that clarity in a world designed to put you back to sleep requires an entirely different kind of architecture. The family cartel was simply your first training ground. The algorithms, the social platforms, and the massive mainstream self-help industry do not want you to see the cold mechanics of these systems. They want you compliant, consuming endless, repetitive content about how to heal by being perpetually forgiving, endlessly compromising, and ultimately, more submissive to the very environments that drain you. They will confidently tell you that establishing absolute, unbreakable boundaries is a toxic behavior. They will attempt to frame your newfound emotional flatness, your absolute refusal to participate in the drama, as a dangerous character flaw. This is because a completely sovereign individual, someone who cannot be manipulated by manufactured guilt, shamed into submission, or coerced into performing an artificial role, is entirely useless to an economy built on emotional reactivity. The moment you stop reacting, you stop being manageable, and the system hates nothing more than a variable it cannot control. To maintain your sovereignty, you must fully internalize that the covert resistance you face from your family is merely the micro-level rehearsal for the macro-level reality of the modern world. The exact same invisible guilt levers your parents pull will inevitably be attempted by your managers, your corporate colleagues, your social circles, and your romantic partners. Every ecosystem you enter will attempt to hand you a script. The threshold guardians are everywhere, standing at the gates of every new level of your life, armed with the same weapons of shame and passive aggression. But if you can learn to look at the people who gave you life, the architects of your deepest primal fears, and calmly, firmly refuse their programming, you become untouchable. There is no corporate structure, no social hierarchy, and no Machiavellian manipulator on Earth that can successfully force you into a cage once you have defeated the final boss of psychological submission. But achieving this state is one thing. Holding the line requires constant, ruthless recalibration. The world is incredibly loud, and the gravitational pull to revert to your old, compliant, agreeable self will present itself as a daily battle. This channel exists exclusively for the extreme minority of people who actively refuse to revert. We do not preach the soft, toxic positivity of mainstream advice here. We dissect reality exactly as it operates, examining the cold, unvarnished mechanics of human nature without the comforting illusions. If you want to survive the intense friction of outgrowing your environment, you cannot do it while remaining completely isolated. You need a new architecture, a new psychological ecosystem that rewards your sharp clarity rather than systematically punishing it. This is where the real quiet work begins. We are actively building a centralized community of the 1% who genuinely understand the game beneath polite society. These are the individuals who recognize the velvet dagger long before it ever strikes. If the public insights provided on this channel have finally given you the vocabulary for the invisible wars you have been fighting your entire life, the deeper, unfiltered strategies are what will actually arm you. The public platforms deliberately restrict how deeply we can explore the dark tactical applications of these psychological laws, which is exactly why the true, unvarnished blueprints, the actual playbooks for maintaining power, live exclusively within our private network. Tomorrow morning, the family cartel will undoubtedly test your new boundaries. They will deploy the heavy size, the loaded sciences, and the perfectly timed manufactured crises. But this time you will be entirely ready. You will observe the machinery operating in real time, recognize the invisible trap, and remain completely psychologically unreachable. You will not catch the bait. But for the advanced tactics they will use the day after tomorrow, and the day after that, you need to be inside the circle. The link is waiting below. Join the people who refuse the script and walk into tomorrow playing a completely different game.